Hi, Del.
Hey, I saw you this morning.
I gave you that good morning, how to do. And you hadn't put your hair on yet.
You still leave your snow out over here.
All right, we're going to get started. Thanks everyone for coming. And if you all see a computer up there, we're streaming live on Facebook, so there are people who are not here who are watching. So thank you all for tuning in, and we wish you were here. It was rainy earlier, but it's beautiful now. So thank you all for coming. We're going to go through a few questions and then open it up to the audience. My name is RJ. I'll be moderating this conversation. I think everyone knows who you all are, so I'll skip introductions, I think, and maybe just, well actually, I guess for people at home, can you all just say who you are? Starting with you.
Billy Strings.
Dale McCurry.
Catch Secor.
I'm Ronnie McCurry.
All right, perfect. Thank you all. This is going to be a lot of fun. And Mr. McCurry, thank you for having us at Delfest, the 11th annual Delfest. You guys had a busy week, and the McCurry family, two album releases and the 11th festival. So it's been a big week and a ton of fun, great music. Del, I just want to start with you and just ask you a little bit about the origins of this, where the idea for Delfest came from, how it kind of came about, and how it's come to become what it is today.
Well, I'll tell you, my manager, Stan Strickland, he asked me one day, he said, did you ever think about having a festival, a music festival, And I said, well, I've thought about that all through the years. I mean, I played the very first one in 1966. I missed it one year. The very first one was 1965 in Fincastle, Virginia. That was a bluegrass festival. And then, I did play it in '66. And all through the years, I thought that'd be nice if I could have one of those. But I didn't want the headache for one thing, and I really wasn't interested in business, and I know you've got to have a business head to run something. I was just interested in playing music, But my manager said, well, you wouldn't have to do all those things, or you'd have some help, And so we'd worked for Roy Carter out there and Rebecca Sparks out in High Sierra. Several years we'd played there, and Stan said, I'll call Roy and have him come to the East Coast here and look for some locations, to do something like that. So Roy, he came and he looked at places all up and down the eastern seaboard, I reckon. I don't know, but anyway, here's where he had us come first and look in Cumberland here. And when I walked on the fairgrounds, I told Roy and Stan, I said, I've played a lot of locations before, and there's none better than this, as far as a site, and I said, as far as I'm concerned, we don't have to go to those other places, So that's how we arrived at this place.
Amazing. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about the history here and the location, because the Bluegrass Congress and things that are related to history of bluegrass and history of America. But I guess first, Catch, you all, the Old Crowd Medicine Show has been here before. You're back.
Yeah, we're really proud to be back here at Delfest. I can't tell you how many times we've been here, but I know it's at least 4, maybe 5, maybe 6. It's it's Memorial Day weekend, and chances are pretty good we'll be seeing signs for Frostburg.
So, Catch, if you can, I know you grew up in New Orleans, and I guess we were talking briefly before about sort of a community of music that comes out of New Orleans and the bluegrass community, which is separate, but I think there's a common bond there in terms of community and helping artists and bringing people along, which Del obviously has furthered here with Delfest and just through the music. Do you see those parallels as someone who's kind of been in both worlds?
Yeah, the music of Louisiana is really rich, just like the music of the Southern Highlands is in North Carolina and West Virginia and Kentucky. And they are all very steeped in traditions, and And whenever you have a hotbed of music in one region or regional distinction, there's a lot of different factors that make it that way. Culture or language or, isolation in the case of Appalachia or, places where the radio signal couldn't get to and the ubiquitous formats couldn't alter the course.
Yep.
But certainly the music of Louisiana was always heavily influenced by the church, and I think that the roots of bluegrass music are very indebted to church. And of course, there's this piece of the racial component of mountain music, and the African banjo and the Scotch-Irish fiddle coming together, and then you've got something very similar down in the Crescent City in terms of the influences being both black and white. One of the things I've always really appreciated about the Del McCoury Band is the way that they put their hand out to and shook hands with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band and brought them to Telluride and brought them to Delfest and High Sierra and so many of the other great events. I think they made a record together. What other bluegrass bands are doing that? It's really a testament to the kind of innovation that Del has been rocking and rolling with for 50 years now. Thanks, Del.
And I guess, Ronnie, you've watched this evolve over the past 11 years. What have you seen in terms of just how the festival's changed, the people you've been bringing through, or maybe it's been the same since it started? What's your perspective on the evolution of this event?
Well, I don't know if it really has changed a whole lot in terms of music, because from the very start it was a pretty eclectic lineup from the start. I think what's changed is that more people are coming and realizing that we're trying to keep it as family oriented as we can. So you see a lot of children here. A lot more than a lot of festivals that you go to, I think. And I think we're pretty proud of that. That's a testament to the music here, the acts, and the way that the festival is run. And I think the way that our family is kind of portrayed, I guess.
Yeah, one of the most family-friendly festivals I've ever been to. All three of my kids were diving in mud an hour or so ago, which is why I don't have a clean shirt on. But yeah, it's an amazing event. It's so nice here. So Billy, I want to ask you a little bit about what you've been up to the past year, but I think first, Del, you know a little bit about being sort of up-and-coming, next big bluegrass guitar player. So do you have any advice for Billy?
Yeah, I was going to agree with that. Great guitar picker. I was just watching him over there a while ago on the stage, and he's well, I don't know. I would, Billy, I wouldn't change a thing. No, just keep that going, just like you got it.
I think the advice comes without words. Hanging out with Dale, hanging out with Ronnie and Sam Bush and David Grisman and people like that. They don't have to say anything. I'm just picking up on it. Anytime I hang out with Brian Sutton, I'm like really watching and listening and just trying to learn. I look up to all these musicians, and it's still crazy to me to even be here right now. It's weird, but I feel really lucky and very grateful. And becoming friends with people that I've looked up to my whole life it's a crazy thing. But that's how I learn. I've learned lessons from Del, lessons from Sam Bush and people like that without, they don't say a word. It's just from watching and checking them out.
And that's you came from a musical family as well, right?
Yeah, I learned from my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's an amazing musician. Same thing, it's just, I'm still doing that. When I was young, I used to just look at my dad's hands and try to make my hands look like his. Like, how does he hold his pick? Okay, well, he's got his three fingers kind of hanging out like that. I'm going to try to make my hand look like that when I play guitar. Yesterday, I was kind of watching Brian when we were playing a little bit. Oh, look, my hand looks like this and his looks like that. So I'm still doing it. I'm still just learning and watching and learning. Awesome. I got a long way to go,
By the way, I heard Billy and his dad play twin guitars, and you ought to hear that. It's great, man.
Nice. I want to hear that.
You will. My dad says hello, by the way.
Tell him I said, and we're taking care of you.
He knows that.
Del, I want to ask you, the Bluegrass Congress last night was really something special, I think, for us in the audience, and I assume for you on stage, it looked like you all were having a good time. Can you talk a little bit about how that came together and the thinking behind that? Because I know there's a story back there.
Came together pretty recklessly, I think.
Like all great things.
Ronnie, Ron, my son Ronnie here, he had a lot to do with that, getting communicating with everybody, with Ricky, like over the phone or texting them back and forth about songs that we could do together, and I'm not sure we did any of them, did we? But we did. But you got to start somewhere, and I know Ron and Alan, my bass player, they were in one of the trailers down there yesterday, finalizing who's, you got to have kind of a set thing, and you got this set time. Okay, that all changed because it rained, so we didn't have the same time, but it worked out. I think it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah, and those guys were working, buddy, on stage. Yeah, every one of them, they were putting everything they had into it, and they really enjoyed Delfest. They really enjoyed seeing all the young people here, Now, I'll tell you, a lot of the bluegrass festivals, they need to somehow get into getting young people interested in, and I think the way to do that is having different genres of music, because for one thing, everybody don't like the same kind of music. So here, they can, if they don't like a band on one stage, they can go to another one and hear a band they do like. Or they might hear that band that they didn't think they liked, and now they like them because they sit there and listen to them a little bit,
Right.
But, it's just, but we had a good time doing that show last night. I hated it was raining so hard for the fans out there, but
It was okay. No one minded. It was amazing that 10 people on stage, whatever it was, everyone was so in line with each other. It was incredible. It sounded like it could have just been a couple of people playing.
Kind of, the idea brewed out of, we always like to have picnic parties in Nashville, and so you call everybody up and they come over and they have food and they play music.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the idea of this happened, really.
it was, there's some wild picking parties down in Nashville, man.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to be home when you guys invite me to come out.
There were apparently there were parchment invitations sent out for Bluegrass Congress. Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
How did you acquire the parchment? Were they handwritten, or was it just like it was sort of a formal
They
invitation?
were like old-fashioned handwriting,
Yeah.
I didn't have a thing to do with that, It's kind of above my head, but I mean, I just don't think of things like that. But I'm glad somebody in this organization does.
You signed them.
I signed off on them, I guess.
So we could talk about the last 11 years. I think everyone here and watching probably knows that every year it's great and it's fun and awesome acts. What do you all feel like is in the future for Delfest? You want to just keep doing this? You're on the last day here, looking forward to next year. Just curious if you or you, Ronnie, have any thoughts on that.
Oh, let's see. Well, now we leave a lot of things up to management,
Of course.
and booking agencies. We have several of those, I guess, for this. And but I guess Roy does most of the booking for the accident. I think he did. Roy
We
Carter.
talked it all out, but we just want to continue to do what we're doing and bring great music to this festival and kind of music that we like and the kind of music that we hope people will, find.
Yeah.
They can find some of these bands that they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Billy, or,
Hope they find me.
Old Crow is just
I'm a
always
big hand.
an incredible addition to the festival, and they've been with us for many years on and off.
Right.
Yeah.
We
And-
played a lot of shows together, other places, us and Ketch and his boys, yeah.
Well, that's really why I'm here, Del. I'm here because I learned something from you all and from your family that made an indelible impression upon me, and my life was irrevocably altered by it. I learned how to be in a family band that was not related to one another. Because I was around a family band that was kin, and so I tried to operate my band close as kin, because I saw that your organization, well, that's how I wanted to be. I wanted to be in a band. Now, I didn't learn to drive the bus like you do. You're not still driving that bus, are you?
2007, my wife made me quit. Still sitting there in the backyard.
But some of those shows that we did all around the country, when we would open for you, I mean, we were just little sponges, and we would just look at what you did and try and imitate it. And stylistically, we never really played bluegrass music, but we really looked at your organization for the place to be inspired and figure out what we could learn. And so that had so much to do with Gene. Seeing Gene be this piece of everything, and this one family member who wasn't performing but was doing everything else, and who was constant, her presence. And I remember buying trading for records, and she always gave me the one that had the little crack in it because she couldn't sell it. She had your best interests in mind, whether it was Juanita's for 300 people in Little Rock, or the House of Blues in New Orleans, or wherever we were. Jean was always keeping such a bird dog's view of all things in the Del McCurry band.
She always mothered you guys. She just loved these guys, and she did. She would, she'd think, well, now, maybe they haven't anything to eat. Maybe I ought to give them something. And I'm sure you guys had plenty to eat, but
No, she was right. We did. And so she brought us crackers and potted meat one time. And, she would stop off at the grocery store and get us stuff, and because we didn't have a writer.
sure. She did, that's true.
And we were driving so many hundreds of miles in our whatever crappy car we were in, following your bus, to make these long trips that only a bus would make, and that an opening act couldn't afford to unless they were 22 and as hungry as we were, and as thrilled with the opportunity to be your opening act and watch you work and think about what it could, think about what it is to be. At that point, you'd been in the business like 35 years, or
Probably so,
yeah. And now here it is, 50 years, right? You've reached the 50-year mark, Del?
I think so.
Does
I think I
that-
did, yeah.
Does that mean 1968?
68? Wait a minute, my first record, yeah, I recorded my first record in 67, it released in 68, yeah. That's
Wow.
true. But look now, they're members of the Grand Ole Opry, and big members of the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, it's going to be really fun, y'all. Is next week we're bringing the Grand Ole Opry to Bonnaroo,
Yes,
which is
we are.
kind of a Delfest kind of feeling thing, in which you've got all these traditions in the genre in the Grand Ole Opry. But Bonnaroo is not a traditional event any more than Delfest is a traditional bluegrass festival. I mean, when my kids marched in the parade this morning, they had all kinds of very untraditional garb on.
Well, I want to open this up to, I know people here have questions. Ketch, I want to ask you one more question, because you guys, you've been playing, Old Crow Medicine Show's been playing together for a while. I think your last album, a review that I read said that it would please old fans and bring in new fans, and that seems like a pretty good place to be in terms of a new album. how do you feel about that album and where you all have been since, or do you feel like you guys are just kind of on the evolving path of being a band?
We put a new record out in April. It's called Volunteer.
Volunteer.
It's on Columbia Records, and it marks the 20th anniversary of when we had picked enough fruit to fill the gas tanks enough times to get across the Canadian border and call ourselves a band. It was the fall of 1998. We went straight to Canada to be a band, and straight to the street corners of Ottawa and Winnipeg and Windsor, Ontario. Places where we were the only string band for miles around. And we liked it that way.
Yeah, awesome. You're not still doing that, right?
Playing on the street corner? I mean, in you know, when we do our show tonight at 10:15 at the grandstand, you'll see what we were 20 years ago on the curb. It's the same shuck and jive.
Nice.
We're a little better now, but not that much better. That's not our thing. Virtuosity's never been the thing. We got spirit, y'all. That's what we're good at.
Thank you. I want to open this up. I know people probably have questions. Anyone out there want to ask a question in this room?
Dale, I just want to thank you. Absolutely love it. I've been here every year, not missed one. I come to see so many different bands. My wife, big fan of Old Crow. Me also.
Sure.
Billy String, saw you with the String Dusters. First time I saw you was great. And just love this festival, my favorite of all. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you going to phrase that as a question, or that was just more of a thing?
Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, I had to slip out last night, and I understand Richard Thompson got up and did 1952 Vincent Black Lightning with you guys, and Roddy and Del. Just wanted to see how that went, what that was like for you.
Well, you know, when we got together, you know, Ronnie told me, he said, you know, I don't know what key we'll do it. Well, we knew, we recorded it in the key of C, you know, and I should go back to the beginning, though, when we did record it, you know. Ronnie was the one that brought it to the band, and I figured out a key that would suit me, you know, to sing it, and Richard recorded it in the key of B flat, and we did it in the key of C, and that was the only problem. If we were going to use my band, you know, we're used to playing it in the key of C, and we didn't know if he would want to do it in that key, but he did in C great. Did a fine job, you know. We rehearsed it just a little bit for about 2 minutes before the show, and oh, he did great, and it was really a surprise to me, you know, that he would change his key to sing something, you know, because that is his key to sing and play that in. But he played the guitar in that key, lead. He played lead on his guitar in key of C, and so he did us a great favor. He did.
Awesome.
Just a quick one for Ketch. Last year you guys did a record covering Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde, and obviously he has a big influence on you as a writer. Have you found that process generated more influence, more new things in your writing and your work?
Yeah, it was really fun to put out this Bob Dylan album 50 years later. Speaking of milestones, 1966 was the year of pop music's first double record. That it was made in Nashville seemed noteworthy, and as a Nashville string band and part of the Grand Ole Opry and other institutions like Columbia Records that have been there since 1966 and earlier, it seemed like we were a good band to take on the task of trying to contextualize Bob Dylan's opus record as an old-time string band and do what we could with it, turn it into jug band music or places where we went swing, western swing with it, or hokum. And it was fun to go out there and play Bob. It was really fun. Especially to think about Nashville as the kind of town that could that could have put out pop music's first double record, as opposed to London or LA or all of the places where we all thought that album would have come from, not Nashville. That Bob was so ahead of his time coming into town, you know, turning everybody upside down, and then really opening the gates wide open for so many other artists to come make a name for themselves in Nashville too. So it seems bigger than Bob.
Thanks. Scott Wilkins with Backstage View. First, I'd like to just also thank you guys for just everything, because it is just such a great part of our world. Oh, my friends and everyone here, everything you guys do. And I wanted to ask a question, so this is what I came up with here, is during the year, there was some situations about knowing if this is going to remain the main area for Delfest, and it seemed like everything did work out well. Could you kind of tell us about that? You know, confirm we're going to be staying here, and this is the future home as well for Delfest for a long time.
Yes, we'll be right here. We're not moving nowhere.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because I guess a lot of other folks, for some reason, probably get that feeling, you know. But no, when we first came, you know, this community it had I don't know, for some reason it had a bad taste in their mouth about Rocky Gap, you know. I don't know why. We never did know why, but anyway, we told them, you know, we came here to help the community, not to take from it, you know, and like do like a festival and then not come back, you know. We wanted to stay here and be part of the community as far as music goes, you know, and that's not changed. We're still here, and we're going to start next year. I don't know if I can say this or not.
You can.
Okay, I'll say it. We're going to have a food festival where and this will be in downtown Cumberland and also out here, and there'll be different food. Ronnie can probably tell you more about this than I can. Say, for instance, if it's Mexican food, you know, that they have a stand there, then we'll have a mariachi band, you know, there, and whatever nationality there is, you know, and whatever food there is, we'll have a band for that there, and we can spread out, you know, between here and downtown Cumberland. So. Be a thing in the fall, I think, you know, next year.
All right.
That will be. But this is our home as far as music goes.
Oh, good, because
we are not moving.
There's a great community here of people that come from all over the world, as you know, that just, you know, can't thank you enough, because it is just tremendous, but from everyone's view. So thank you guys. And
thank you. Yeah.
I know people have to get going, especially the people up here. Billy, as the relative newcomer up here, you get the last question, and I just want to know from your perspective, what's a takeaway from being part of this weekend that you'll kind of leave Cumberland with?
I mean, it's always inspirational. Like I was saying earlier, just being around these folks, you know. I think it's always, sometimes you'll realize little things you learn later on. But I don't know, just I liked what you were saying earlier about traveling around and kind of checking out what Del and them were doing and kind of mimicking that, because I've done that same thing. You know, being on the road all the time, sometimes you have hard situations, or sometimes, you know, the person at the gig's a real jerk or something. Or, you know, it's tough every once in a while, and the road tests your abilities to stay mentally all there. But sometimes I think, what would Del McCurry do? I really think that, and you know, I think he'd just smile and be kind.
No, I just hit him in the jaw.
I don't think that's true.
No, I wouldn't do that.
But yeah, I mean, it really is being around, you know, the McCurry family, and I mean, that's how it's done. from the music that's played, from the way they treat people, from the way they know how to throw a party, it's just, that's how it's done.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I take away from it, is all of that.
Yeah.
Billy, I was side stage watching your set, and I was not only watching your set, I was watching Del and Gene watch your set.
Yeah, we were. I know.
And I could tell that Gene wanted to get some food for you too. You're in, pal.
All right, I think that's a good way to end. Everybody needs some food, especially Billy. Thank you all for coming. Thanks everyone for tuning in on Facebook Live. And let's get a photo up here maybe of all you guys together and wrap it up. Thanks everyone for coming.
Cool. Nice. Up together, maybe. Oh yeah. Family hug.
That's pretty cool. One more. I'm here at the Delfest.